Hello, this is Hi Bob Warbob, and let's play some Ultimate General Civil War.
Hello, and welcome back. So today we're going to be doing the Washington camp. I thought I had recorded a video for a Washington camp. Ended up that either I just completely missed doing it or I can't find it. So now I'm going back and trying to do it now. So I might not get everything completely perfect right now because I don't remember everything that I did. But at the end, I will definitely show you what army I used, no matter what. So, because I definitely have that. I just don't remember every single step that I took to get there, which is okay. Some of these guys will need a little bit higher, it looks like. This guy will need a little bit higher to be able to not have an efficiency penalty, so we'll do that. It might be a good idea if I mix these together just so I don't have to use a 2-star general here. But for right now, we're not too concerned about that. We're going to add all the veterans we can. That's since we now have the money to do it. We are also going to go over to our armory. And we are going to end up selling off everything that's extra. But maybe not quite yet for everything. And look at Lamats. We don't have enough to do another unit of Lamats, so in the end we'll end up selling those off. We don't need the 24-pound howitzers or the 12-pound howitzers. I don't think we're going to need any more 10-pounder parrots either. We might make a couple of big units. Not because I actually did, but because I think that it might have been a good thing to do, to have like 2 max size 10-pound parrot units just to put out there to get shot. Because they'll still do damage, but then they also can just eat damage while your 20-pound parrots are able to stay back and not take a bunch of damage. So let's sell about 25 of those. It's the same cost to buy them back anyway, so you don't really lose a lot. As far as these guys, we have already bought pretty much all the guys we want to buy. We could put 1 point into like training if we wanted to, but I don't see much of a point in that. We'll just put some more points in logistics. Really, I think that putting like 6 points into reconnaissance probably gets you most of the things that you need, and then you could start putting all the points into training and maybe have 4 or maybe even a couple more points in it if we don't put all the points in logistics. I think politics, economy, and medicine are all really important. Army org, obviously, you want to be able to bring all 5 corps to this at max size for all the corps. And then logistics, I'm not sure how important logistics is, but it's nice to not have to move around your supply wagon too often. And, you know, I have a bunch of extra supply wagons, you might not. So that kind of depends on whether or not you're willing to get extra supply wagons, because if you didn't get extra supply wagons, logistics becomes a lot more important. Which I know is kind of cheating, but it'll be fine. Okay, so now the next thing that we need to do is we need to start putting down infantry units. Because we have, let's try to put them down here together. All these junk units. Okay. We want to put down as many as possible so that then we don't lose too much experience if possible. We could quite possibly go ahead and add in these guys as veterans right now it won't make all that much difference in our pool of men, but it could make sense to get that out of the way. I think 60. Make sure that they all get to 60 first. And then I guess we'll go for 70. See if we can make it to 70 with everybody. And I think that's going to be everybody. So this one's too short. So we'll be able to break them all down and get them combined up without any kind of problem there. Another thing that we could do is we could top all of these guys off either with veterans or with raw recruits. They're not quite 3 stars, but it would use up about 1,000 men, I think. It could drop us down to that 5,000 mark if we do it right. There is that possibility. Because that's really the mark that we're aiming for, is that 5,000 mark or a little bit below. So I think we'll go ahead and do this. I don't remember what I did, to be 100% honest. This might work out better. It might not work out as well as I think it will. Basically what we're looking for is we're going to break down some of the artillery units, the 10-pound parrot units. And in doing that, we want to create room to make more units. The problem is that whenever we break them down, we're going to go up in the number of men that we have there. And obviously that's going to downgrade my ability to then make units in place that will take up all of the men that I have in that pool. So it's like a, will it go up faster or will I get rid of men faster? Obviously these guys don't have all that many men in them. The 10-pounder, the 20-pound parrots have even less men in them, but I don't think that we should worry about that at the moment. So we can take also here and go up to 12. Of course, it costs a ton of money to add men to artillery units, and it costs like double to do it to skirmishers, and it costs triple to do it to artillery units. So this was pretty expensive, but it was only 71 men. I wasn't too worried about it. For this, we will need 6, and that will be pretty expensive by the end of it. We haven't sold off all the rifles that we're going to be able to, but we're sitting at most of the money we're going to get our hands on. I think what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and start breaking down a couple of these units. So we break down one, and then we make our infantry unit. And then we break down one more, and we make our infantry unit. And then we break down one more, and we make an infantry unit. Well, we break down 2 more, and we make an infantry unit. Here, 1989. The reason why we broke down 2 more is because then we have the extra spot. We'll throw one of these 3 stars. Yeah, we'll throw one of these 3 stars over here. We'll come find this guy who is above 3 star. So we can take this guy and we can break him down, make a 500-man unit, and make that guy. Or we could take a pair of these snipers and do the same. because that would get us to the 500 mark. Now that we've cleared out. Oh, see, I did that wrong probably then. I should have placed that unit down, then broken down to, or all the sniper units could break down and be condensed into one at that point. So it's probably not the best way to do that. Probably could have done it just a little bit better, just because then the sniper units could break down and collapse into one, and so could any of the artillery now too. Like I could break down like all the 20-pound parrots and put them into one unit of infantry so that you have extra spaces to be moving things around and doing things at this point. So I think that's what I'm going to do real quick. I am going to pause and just break down all the snipers and put them into a unit. Okay, so now you can see how high this guy is. He's a 42 with a 3-star colonel, with a no bar colonel. And this guy was like a pretty low. He was, let's see, he was like a 12 or so, 10. So obviously these guys are much better for making more 3-star units. Of course, they are expensive. But they'll make better units. So I think they're the one. I'm going to go ahead and use them instead, even though I think before I just used this guy. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that I could have calculated out exactly how many men I needed to put into this unit, so this unit would be exactly 2,500 whenever I upped the amount in it. So add all the men back to all of these to get them all back up to 2,500. Then calculate how many men are left, how many men are in each unit of artillery, find out exactly how many men I will need in this unit, because this 511 men didn't need to go into, no, even more than that, because a full unit of this I didn't need to break down. So it'd be like 300 men in one of these units, I think, isn't it? So that's 14 guns. Then you go to 20. No, I can't add 14 guns to one. So artillery 14 guns is 350 men. So 350 and the 511. So this could be quite a bit lower than what it is, but still get the benefit of using up those last people. You want to do it before you start breaking down artillery units, because you're starting to make your pool here better than what it should be for using up. See, this one is just a, see how they start getting better. You don't want to be using up these recruits as veterans, because whenever you do that, then you just lose a ton of these stats get lost basically, because you're like overriding them with units that are better. So like if you use these, if you broke down this unit and then added it to this one as veterans, you would lose all the skills over the base level of a raw recruit. You don't actually lose it, you just basically lose it. It's kind of a weird thing to try to explain exactly what happens there, but in a lot of ways you lose. Okay, so this one can go back up there. Now we are left with mostly this, so we can go ahead and make out our units here. Go with Springfield 63s. So we want to be able to end up with enough of this that we can make our skirmisher units again. So we don't want to lose the ability to do that while still gaining the ability to, you know, gain as much experience in our army as possible. Okay. We'll go with Richmond's this time. Okay. So now what we do is we come over here. So we can get rid of quite a few weapons at this point if we wanted to, I think. We need to check on some things, but I think that this is the point that we could go ahead and start making some of those changes. We could decide how many 10-pounder parrots we want. So like maybe we want 2 max sized ones. So that means we could sell down to having only 20 left. So let's do that. We're going to sell down to having 20 left. So we'll sell 11 more. We obviously want all the 10-pounder parrots that we can have. So we won't sell any of them. We could go ahead and sell all of these because we definitely don't need any more right now. This is nice to have just to be able to make a unit of 500. So we can sell this down to 500, I believe. Should be fine. Or 600, so we can make 2 300s. It just kind of depends on what you want. I kind of like having a little bit of backup there just so that you can make a couple units. Because if you only have a few hundred men left, it's impossible to make a infantry unit if you have less than 500 men left. So it's nice to be able to do that. And at 600, you can pretty much do it twice without having to buy any new weapons. And then we've got our Springfield 1842s that we could sell off here. We obviously have more weapons than we do men by a little bit of a margin, not a huge margin, but there is a little bit of a margin there, so we will be able to sell them off. We'll see how much money we'll make, about 60K. That's not very much money compared to how much money we have here. So it's not too worth it to do. Let's see, what do we make off of this? 15,000? It's not much. So we have about $75,000 to play with in the end. If we need it, we can gain a little bit more by selling off a few pieces here and there. Where are our guys? Here they are. So looks like we can make 1.5-ish of these, and that's about it. So, and that uses up pretty much all of our money at that point. So we could, what do we need to do this? 45,000. So we could sell off 45,000 of these, $45,000 worth of these. I did not look at exactly how much over I needed. I should have. So we need about $600 more. $680 more. We could go ahead and sell off 100 of these then, because we don't need 100 of them, I don't think. Oh yeah, that's not very many of them at all. Okay. And go ahead and top this off. Okay, and by the end of this, we won't have any of those weapons left. Any of these or any of these. And that will give us an amount of money up here where we can kind of play around with it on day 2 to move money around here. Obviously, we probably won't need all of this money here on day 2. So we could drop this down to, let's just say 100,000 and move 40K of this somewhere else if we don't have quite enough money, or however we want to move it, because most likely we'll still have like 35K in this on day 2 for day 2. There's only like one area that we're really going to stack up all of our artillery I think on day one. No, day one we're going to stack up all our artillery. We're going to spread it out a bit and use it slowly and methodically. On day two, then we're going to stack up all our artillery in like one place and just use it kind of to pound through in a certain places. So we were able to use up the majority, barely, technically, the majority of them. Not a vast majority, obviously, but a little bit over half of the sniper weapon, of the raw recruits were able to be used here. So we'll have to use basically one full unit just to remake the snipers. That leaves us with a unit and a half, pretty much, to do whatever we need to do with. Obviously, it would cost way too much to do another one at this point, and I don't think that even a few, like 500 men, is still just too much money. We don't have that much to spare at this point. 3,500, so 3,500 men here. That would be this, like part of that, and then the Richmonds give us enough to do this one. So there's a good possibility that we'd actually have another few guns to sell, like the farmers and the rest of these Springfields. We might be able to sell them in the end. I just don't know how much worth we're going to get out of it as a whole. It's hard to... And did we already get the guns or whatever we were going to do here? No, we don't have these Richmonds yet. So that's good. That's a good sign that we'll get these Richmonds. That'll be a good amount of stuff there. We're going to buy the men in the interim step in between the first day and the second day. We're going to buy the 8,000 men. And the reason for that is that we really don't have places to put that many men in our army. But after day one, we'll have lost about, I'm going to say 8 to 20,000 is a normal amount for somebody to lose on a day one. Easily 8 to 20, and probably more like 15 to 20 or 12 to 20, whatever number you want to put in there. So that will give us enough men that we can then add raw recruits in or whatever we need to get them to the size that we want, which will help keep up our numbers and help make sure that we can track the number of men that we have. There is one thing that I didn't do that I will probably be doing to show you guys, and that is whenever you build out the sniper guys, I'm going to leave one gun short on each one. So I'll have like, I think I have 9 sniper units, so I'll leave 9 sniper weapons in the inventory so that I can add 1 to each of them to knock their casualties down to 0. That is what I would do. I didn't do it. I forgot about it. I didn't think about it. But that would be something that you could do so that then you can top them off, and so that you don't see those casualties on your day 2 numbers. So I'm going to calculate how many losses I had day 1 and calculate how many losses I had on day 2 separately. It won't show up on the end screen how many losses I had on day 1 because I will have added men to every single unit except the snipers, which is kind of bad, but it kind of makes sense once you get there, just because I want to add those 8,000 men in. But if I add it only to certain units, I would have to try to figure out which units I added it to, which units I didn't. So if I add at least 1 man to basically every unit that lost anyone, then I can cancel out all my casualties for that day, so then I can then have a clean picture on day 2 to see how many losses I had there, because I really don't want to give you guys the wrong impression of how many losses I had. I want to find out exactly how many losses I had, and it's really hard to do if you don't do it that way. So I lost about, I think, 200 snipers on day 1, so those are really hard to subtract off of my day 2 numbers to figure out exactly where I was at on day 2. Okay, so now we've got we might be able to do this a little bit more. So if we switch over here, and we switch over here, and we look around, and so now we have plenty of guns. I'm just looking to make sure we don't have any more of the really bad guns on any of these guys, or anybody else really. Oh, there's some more 42s. Okay. Richmond's. I thought I had a bunch in the armory. Oh, I just used them all up, basically. So we could buy a bunch of Richmonds, too. That's another thing that we could do with our money, is buy Richmonds. So what I'm looking at here is that I'll need 500 here. So we'd have to have another 2,000 of them just to get enough to have another unit of Richmonds. Wait, here's another 1,000. So we'd need just 1,000 more Richmonds to have another unit of Richmonds, which we could probably do. So if we sell off all of these, we sell off all these, and we go and we see if we can buy about 1,000 Richmonds. We can do that pretty easily. I think I'm just going to go ahead and sell these off. If we need to, we could buy some of the cheaper ones. No, those are the cheapest ones. So, and we'd lose about $1 each. That's not too bad if we had to. No extras. So we could get another 30,000 there. We could just forget about adding in the 20-pound parrots that we have and gain another 14k there. But I don't think that either of those choices is a good choice. We could also sell off like 9 of these, so then, but that won't make us all that much money anyway. I don't see really the point of that. Whenever we start getting down to it, we'll be able to choose to sell off some of these two, possibly, and get right down to the number there. Let's see, what can we add in here? How many men can we add in? Not all that many, but it's a bit. It's a good amount, 605. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll leave this unit sitting here ready to take more men. We'll go ahead and make 1 unit of absolute base level stats here. So this is raw recruits. So if we decide that we want to add more men to this once we've sold off more guns or anything like that, then we can go ahead and come back here and have a place to add them in. And of course now we have these guys, which can just be dumped in as rookies into this unit without any real downside here. Okay, so now the next step. 1 second, I'm going to think about it and I'll be right back. Okay, so the next step is break down all the 20-pound parrots and make them into an infantry unit, and all the 10-pounder parrot units, make them into another infantry unit. I'll be right back. So there's a problem with that idea. I literally don't have enough infantry weapons to equip them out. So we can't do that. We can go ahead and make max size artillery units though, so they take up less room than what they would by about half, which is good enough for me for now. If I can click on the right things and add the right things here, that would be helpful. Okay, we don't want to be using up all our best commanders either. We'll want them to be going on to infantry units here in a bit. Let's keep them out of the way. Okay. And one last unit of these. 16 guns this time. So it takes up quite a bit less room, like about half. We don't have the men for it. Okay. So we'll need to get the men for that. So we need about, 16 guns. So it's 175 men that we need. We could use some of these guys here. These guys could also stack into the same stats as these guys. So we can stack them into there, which is fine. And then these guys, we'll see a little bit of an uplift in stats, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same as what they had. We can add those guys into here. Like that. Okay. We can do the same for the 10-pound parrots now. And one way that we can do that is just by doing this. We don't actually have to break them down fully. We can just stack them up. So we have one man left over again. That's fine. We must have taken about 26 losses in that battle, which we got to keep all our guns from, so that's good enough. We do want to add in these 21 more men, so we can do that by adding another unit. We can make this one max and then add another one. Or we could just hold off for a bit. I think we're just going to hold off for a bit. Let me pause it again. I'll think about what I need to do next. Okay, so we're ready for the next step. So what I did is I took all the raw recruits, threw them up here. I went ahead and brought this guy down. This guy has a bit of extra experience, not quite as much as these guys do, but he does have some experience. I went ahead and switched these all over to being just colonels. Went ahead and put a bunch of low-level brigadier generals in charge of a lot of these, which will allow me to go ahead and grab the best men possible to be in charge of units as we go forward. So what I'm thinking is to go for about 2,000 men here, I think. Another thing we might want to do is we might want to go up here and go ahead and get the best weapons on our best men at this point. So I'll be back when I've done that. Okay, so now we've got some units made. 2 that are at 2,000 and the rest at 1,500, just because I figure that 1,500 will probably be closer to what I need for those guys. We'll see. We'll start out using the not quite so good guys and see where that gets us. So can't quite hit. Wow. Yeah. This guy just isn't that good compared to what I need. So we'll go ahead and put him back and we'll come back to him later. We'll make a unit that's smaller. They can actually get up to the right size with that. Okay, so now these guys, so it's not too bad. About 400 of them to get it up to 3 stars. And we'll do that for both of the guys that are the closest to being 3 stars. And then we can go back and we can look at these guys and see how much they need. So So it's only about 400 for them. That makes me feel like I could probably go to the 2000 mark and still be able to hit it, but it'd be really close. So probably more like 1800. So let's go ahead and try that. 1068. So what I've basically done is I've made it where all the guys that I'm going to be using for this are all have Harper's Ferries. More for the simplicity than it is for anything else. Doesn't actually matter. So let's go to 1900. It just makes it a lot easier whenever you're trying to make these units, if all your units are going to be of the same type of gun. So I put all of my best guns on the 3-star troops I already have, along with going ahead and putting all of the infields on like all of these guys. All these guys now have infields up here, so that then I don't have to worry about the infields being in my way. I could have also done this with infields instead of having Harper's Ferries. I just felt like using these. So you can see here we can add one guy without it going down to 2 stars, but once we add that next guy, then it goes down. So for every 2,000 men, it took 330. So that's like a 1 to for every 5 men. So if you divide the 2,000 by 100, that would be 20. So it's a 20 to 3 ratio, approximately. So if we add like 80 men in, it should take about 5 or 6 to get it up to max. So let's go ahead and add in, let's add 80 men or 70 men. Let's add 70 just to make sure. We still have 100 men left that we can add, so that should be plenty to be able to get it up to the next star, and then we can add more again next time. On this one, it took 406 to the 2,000, so it's not quite as good. Divide it by 100 again, that would get you 4 here, and it's 2,000, so that would get you 20. So 20 to 4 approximately. Let's go ahead and just add like 40 men and make sure that it takes about 8 men to get it up to the next. We'll just see. Let's go ahead and do that right now while we are remembering the numbers, even though we could be doing a couple other things first. It'll just be cool to go ahead and do it real quick here so we can see exactly how it affects it, if it affects it the way we think it does. So it should take about 8 men here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. And it should take about, what was it? 3, 3, and like 1. So 10 or 11, rounding. So that's pretty close to what we were expecting. So now we can use those numbers to approximate exactly how many men we need to add. Let's see if this works. It did. It got us extremely close to where we wanted to go. That's almost perfect. That makes me feel a lot better about that. Remember, we don't want to touch that other one, so we don't have all that many men left at this point, really. Okay, there's that. We can go ahead and break down this guy. We'll be able to use enough to do that, so that's good, and that's good. And the numbers should be pretty similar no matter what. It should be pretty similar to that once you get past the first bit, it should be pretty similar because most of their stats were pretty similar to begin with, and we have pretty similar stats on both the types of units that we're using. So here, if we add 8, we should be able to add about 70 men to it, 60 to 70 men to it, which should leave us pretty close. So we'll see if that works. And then on this one, we only got about 40 men left to add. Let's go with 2. See where that gets us. We'll go ahead and add an extra 2 men there. An extra 3 or let's go with 10 men there. And go with 8 there. And just six here. Not sure how that will turn out. We're hoping for some good close numbers, though. I've kind of learned over time how to more accurately guess what I'm doing. So we'll see if that turns out well for us this time or not. So we added a few extra here, but then we only got 8 extra out of it. So that seems a little off. See how good we do here. Looks like we did pretty good here. Got us pretty close. 57 out of the about 100 that we needed. So, well, no, out of the like 80 that we needed. So not too bad. We'll see how close we get here. Didn't do all that well here. Should have done more than that. Okay, we got not quite half of what we needed. We'll go ahead and leave it on 3 stars. Add a couple more men to it. Should have added a few more there as well. But we got about a third of them on a lot of these, so that's not as bad as it could be. Remember, we want to keep above 500, so we're getting awfully close to that mark. We'll need to break down another unit to do that. So remember, this guy is not very good at making new 3 stars, which is fine, but we just have to keep that in mind. So if we add 6 here, 3 there, 5 here, or 6. We'll go with 10 on like each of these. It was only 9. There's 10. But on this one, go with 7 or 8, 9. We'll go with 9. Should be fine. Okay, so we might have to go ahead and do some tricks with this and like make 2 units of this other, but it should be fine. Go ahead and break down another one of these. We aren't going to get all that many units out of this because all of our generals are not that good, but it should be fine in the end. We'll go ahead and bring them up to 2 stars there. So we could have added a few less there, maybe. A few less there. This one will be pretty close, looks like. Okay, what about this one? We get close? Yes, looks like it. And this one. Not too bad. Okay, so now we're looking at a pretty good number here. So we can do is we can come down here and go infantry 500 and Harbor's Ferries, and then go ahead and do infantry whatever's left. 19 with Harper's Ferries. Okay, and then this guy can come out. So we did go a little bit over on these two, but not badly. So you get 1, goes back up. Let's go with 2. That should get us most of the way. We'll probably need 3, but it'll be awfully close. Let's go 3. Let's go 4 there. And 3 there. And let's go with 3 here. Should be pretty close. 15, 27. You don't have to be quite this particular with it, I don't think. It probably won't affect how many I get by that much. So yeah, we need 1 more, basically. It was right at the edge of that. Sometimes it just ends up that way. So yeah, I added just a little bit too many here. So I'll go ahead and drop it down to 2 stars, and that next one should pop it right back up. Should be perfect. That one is right on. I mean, it probably has a little bit more that it could give, but not much. So we'll go ahead and make this unit back again, 2381. And that's the basic gist. And then you just go through and you do that with all the men you can until you run out of guys to make units with. You could possibly drop this guy in down to maybe 1500, add in 1,000 of these guys, and still be able to get 3-star snipers, which might be worth doing. You just make sure and save before you start doing things like that to see exactly where you want to make those changes, and the rest of it's kind of up to you for that. So we'll go ahead and load into what I ended up with. I probably didn't end up with quite as good as what this did. I didn't spend nearly as much money. I thought I needed more money. I did not need more money. So here we've got, let's see, all 3-star infantry. Let's see how many 2-star infantry we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 2-star, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So about 28 2-star infantry. We could go ahead and buy the men now and top these guys off with rookies. Because there's no reason necessarily not to. All the infields could be topped off to 2,500 with rookies. Remember, I was thinking that go ahead and drop these down by 1 on each of these, and that'll let you top them off after day 1. As far as placement of units, so whenever I go over here, I think I did like, so these 4 cannons. For some reason I feel like this is not the way that it was. 1 second. I'll pause it. So basically what I did is I just went in and restarted the battle. Hit restart on the battle. Okay, so here's the actual army that I brought, that I'm bringing. So the cav units don't do as good as what I would have liked. It's okay, but some reason I feel like I didn't even bring one cav unit in this unit, but that's fine. So we went ahead and brought 2. Yeah, something seems wrong here too. Okay, so I guess this was where I did this. This is about right. So the 2 10-pound parrots, 2 20-pound parrots, they go after all their artillery up on the hill, from up on the hill, and then we have a bunch of infantry to deal with other things. Bring in 3 sniper units. I feel like I brought in more snipers than this. Okay, so group number 1 goes here. Then we just go around in a circle like that. So this guy will be mainly getting around that fort, keeping reinforcements from getting to the fort, and then getting into a place to surround it, kill all their artillery, and take it. These 2 will be marching in from the north mostly, and they'll be getting into position to keep them from being able to get into some of their fortifications here, and possibly even force them back a little bit, depending on how everything goes. I think I push them back out of these fortifications, and then get into the fort down here, hopefully without them having too many men in the fort, and then get into position to have some men move down this way. I think I have some guys move down, maybe not very many though. Can't remember how many I have moved down. That might be just tomorrow that I have them moved down. And then these guys will be moving in here, getting flanks on these positions and pushing in to surround this fort. And these guys will be mostly just pushing all the way down to the south here, getting across, and then having some units, mostly some of them from these corps, up here to fill in these spots while these guys all march down to surround this fort, along with having a few extra guys here to then make sure and be able to push in. Yeah, a few guys. No, nobody's gonna be up here. So just have them along here so that they can push in as this opens up, as I push up the side here. Should work out pretty well. Yeah, these guys just spawn in like below this line here, and there'll be a bunch of units that I'll move down into here and get across this and have them move into here. All these guys will like move into here to get in behind them and surround all these guys that are spawning in down here. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, that took an hour, but it's been a blast, guys. You guys have a good one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Well, this has been a blast. Hope you guys have had as much fun as I've had. I'll see you again in the next episode. You guys have a good one,